Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Welcome, everybody. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen. We have two guests today. One is our editor, Jace LeJeune, who's out of his house today because of the coronavirus. He's been working for us out of his house for a little over 2 months. We also have Kevin Franklin calling in, the former LSU Tiger great, former Catholic High Bear great. That's where Jace went to school. Kevin was a great track athlete, too, at Catholic High, and played at LSU and played at Southern University, played for the Oakland Raiders in the NFL, and still one of the best running backs to ever come out of Baton Rouge. We all think of Warwick Dunn and Travis Minor and Clyde Edwards and Darius Geis. I mean, it just goes on and on with the Bear running backs. But don't forget about Kevin Franklin. He's one of the best ever to come out of Catholic High, Parade All-American running back. We're going to talk a little MLB baseball with Jace, probably a little NBA basketball. I know he wants to talk about a little bit of Michael Jordan. Has been in the news lately. We're going to have our college notes, and we'll talk about the LSU commitments in the last 2 days. And, also talk about our recruit of the week. I got a recruit of the week from Independence High School. We'll talk about who that is, a big-time player that's not ranked. Who cares? I'm old school. I don't rely on camps. I go to 100-plus games every year in scout, and I don't rely on camps to give me rankings and all that stuff. So I go on full pads. I think that's what our listeners would appreciate. But without waiting any longer, let me go ahead and introduce Jace LeJeune. Jace, how are you today?
How's it going, boss man? What's up?
I don't know, man. Working out of the house, just like you. And I think anybody driving right now this will put a smile on their face that everybody's working out of their house, just about. And I know, some offices are opening up, which I'm really pumped about. And I know that we're like 20% open in the country, whatever that means. But
right.
It's better than zero open, and hopefully, Jace, we'll be 100% open. But we've been 100% open for 2 months.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, it's been absolutely crazy the last couple of months. Just trying to, balance work and then balance school at the same time. But, I mean, it's definitely been unique, but it's definitely been a great experience as well.
Tell everybody, I've been, about a month ago, I was calling a lot of schools because we're tag teaming calling these high school coaches.
Yeah.
I've probably interviewed about 30 of them in the beginning, and I've seen all these guys play, but you've been interviewing everybody the last month and a half. You've been doing it for 2 months, and we've got up to 265, almost 270 schools interviewed out of 305. Right. Tell everybody that's listening, that's driving, or on their computer, or on their cell phone, what it's been like to interview these high school coaches that I've been knowing for 25, 30 years. You've been knowing now for the last 6 years or 5 years. What has it been like talking to these high school coaches and these recruits?
Well, you get a really inside look at what's been going on with some of these programs around the state of Louisiana. I've actually got to talk to a lot more assistant coaches, just because a lot of the transition's been a lot tougher for a lot of coaches that are coming in that are brand new. Usually when they get to campus and get to a school, they get associated with the kids, workouts, stuff like that, but they can't because they can't go to campus with the coronavirus pandemic going on. So it's definitely been a struggle for them, but I was able to talk to a lot of assistant coaches as well. And you kind of get an idea of what some of the teams are going through. You kind of know what teams might have a great season this year. They're telling Jace, we have to get back as soon as possible. It's going to be really quick. We have to get back. While there's other coaches that are saying, you know what, Jace, I think this coronavirus, we can wait a little bit, So you kind of get a feeling of what teams have been confident going into the season and really want to get back. And as far as other teams that, might be a little bit of a struggle this season. Yeah,
I've talked to some coaches. We've been calling these coaches together, and in the last 3 weeks, I've had to start writing a magazine, and you've been calling them all lately the last 3 weeks. But most of these coaches have been on their riding lawnmowers, and I'm calling, and, some of them are like taking their kid to get ice cream or, through a drive-through or, somebody's yelling at them to get back to work or, this and that. And they're happy I'm calling them. They're like, man, call me again. I've had some coaches say, look, just call me again. I'm bored. I'm tired of cutting grass. He said, we could put this in a lawn magazine now, his yard. So I don't want to mention those coaches, but it's funny. And you gotta have some kind of laughter during all this. You can't just you gotta break the emotion. And I think it's really good to talk to these guys. I mean, that's what I do. And you've been doing this while you've been in college. And there's some funny stories. We can tell some later on, but
sure.
A lot of recruits too. I mean, we're catching kids that are working out and they've been working out. And I think that's what a lot of listeners would love to hear that don't have kids that are just into recruiting. But there are a lot of kids that have taken it upon themselves to work out whatever they have at the house or whatever vacant lot they could go to and lift weights. It's really impressive to me that just about every kid I've talked to on the phone all over Louisiana, they're working out. They're actually trying to prepare.
Yeah, that's a good point, Lee. And just the other day, this week, if you also go to our website, LAFootballMagazine.com, we do stories on recruits daily. And just our last one we did was on Savion Jones and St. James. And before he committed. And he even told me, like, Jace, there's a levee in my backyard. So I'm just going there and just running up and down the levees. They're using whatever these kids I've been talking to, they're using whatever resources that they have. It could be in their home backyard, but they're trying the best that they can to get physically, not only physically in shape, but also mentally in shape as well, because they're watching a lot of film and going to Zoom meetings and doing a lot of stuff that coaches are telling them to do as well.
Jace, we're going to take a break. Stay there on the phone. When we come back, I have one question to talk about. You've got some. Mine's going to be about the MLB draft coming up. It's going to be a 5-round draft, really crazy, instead of 45, 50 rounds or whatever it is. But stay on the line. We'll be right back.
Sure.
Hello, Louisiana Football Magazine fans. Like what you're hearing? Well, you're going to love our content on LAFootballMagazine.com. This week, we have 2 recruit spotlights on St. James defensive end Savion Jones, who just committed to the LSU Tigers this past week, and also one of the best athletes in the state in Catholic Point Capiz, Matthew Langlois. Finally, make sure to check out not only today's podcast, but Mondays as well. So what are you waiting for? And go to LAFootballMagazine.com today.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen. Our guest today is Jace LeJeune. Later in the show, we're going to have Kevin Franklin. We're going to have our college notes. Former LSU running back Kevin Franklin, one of the greatest running backs to ever play at LSU. Didn't have the All-American college career, but, man, I'm just, his high school career was phenomenal with Warwick Dunn, who I didn't mention earlier. So many Catholic backs, Jace, where you went to school. It's like you could have plaques on the whole Catholic gym of just running backs. I mean, it's not just all district guys. We're talking about guys going to NFL that play 5 years or might be a Hall of Famer like Warwick Dunn, but, Clyde Edwards being the last, and he won't be the last Catholic great back coming out of that school either.
No, and talking to Coach Fertitta, he's really high on his running backs coming up, and he's got a couple of sophomores, some underclassmen, but he told me, Jace, they're going to be big time coming up.
I'm high on 2 of them to be in the NFL one day, 2 of them that are coming up. And that's going to make like a 12 running backs maybe. That'll be NFL Catholic high backs. They're running back you, man.
Yeah, went to school with 2 of them too at the same time. So that's just how it is at Catholic High.
That's how that rolls. But we're going to go ahead. I want to ask you, and I don't know, heck, you've been working with me almost 5 years, but I don't know if you keep up with the MLB draft like I do, but I'm a big baseball guy. Believe it or not, listeners, I follow baseball pretty heavily, and I started following when Ben McDonald was at LSU, probably before. I don't even know if you were born, Jace, back then.
No, that was before I was born.
So I made most of the Todd Walker, Russ Johnson games. Todd Walker was from Airline and Shreveport, played at LSU. Russ Johnson from Denham Springs. That was after Ben. I went to a lot of games when Ben was there in the beginning with Skip Burtman. But this MLB draft, Jace, there's no date. They just say July. It's now 5 rounds. It used to be over, 40 rounds easily. And this could affect LSU's future. If Cole Henry, who's old enough in eligibility to go pro, it's that age thing with baseball. You can be an age to where you're all of a sudden you're eligible. It's not your years in college. But if they lose Cole Henry and Cabrera, both of these guys could go, and possibly 3 of their top high school signees, it's going to be tough for Maneri and LSU to go back without Cole Henry.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And especially this past year was supposed to be one of their biggest pitching staffs that they've had since Maneri's been there, and that they're really going to use their arms for this year. And it's been, kind of a disappointment that we might not even see that into fruition.
Yeah, and what I'm saddened about, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope Cole Henry comes back for his junior year because he didn't play his sophomore year. And he had his freshman year cut short because of problems with his arm, and now he's back. I mean, the guy throws 98 miles an hour. He'll be a 100-mile-an-hour pitcher in a year, or if he's not already doing that when he gets fully back. But we never, if he does go pro, we'll never get to see the greatest of Cole, you won't see his full potential at LSU if he leaves. I just hope he comes back. I know it's all about money going to MLB. And now that it's 5 rounds, they're going to offer the kitchen sink to Cole Henry because it's only 5 rounds. And Cabrera is the same thing. I don't think Cabrera peaked at LSU yet. And I'd hate to see Cabrera go. But again, it comes down to money. And I like one of their baseball signees, Jace, out of Woodlands, Texas. He's a catcher. Drew Romo, who is 6 foot 185. They said he's a phenomenal catcher, and they could lose him too. They said he could go as early as the first round.
Man, that'd be a big loss too.
Yeah, and they need catchers. They need a guy that can hit. This guy can hit. And he can catch, and he's one of the best signees ever out of Texas for LSU as a catcher. Saul Garza is really more of a hitter, not a true catcher. I mean, he plays catcher. And they have the young kid from Zachary, who's got a great arm. But you need a second catcher that can rotate so many games. But look, I'm gonna turn it over to you. You had some questions and some interesting stuff that listeners might like.
Yeah, sure. So. First question, Lee, have you gotten a chance to really sit down? I know there's really nothing much you can do. I know you're working hard with the magazine and what's going on right now. But when you get your free time, have you got a chance to watch the Michael Jordan documentary?
I haven't.
You haven't? Okay.
But
it's been pretty good, yeah.
So what do you think about it? Now, I grew up watching the Bulls play, though. I grew up watching Scottie Pippen and Jordan and, Horace Grant, who's in a feud, I heard, with Jordan. And I heard Pippen's not happy. Now, I'm reading these little ESPN blogs that
right.
But, here's my opinion. If it wasn't for the coronavirus and everybody would be bored, how many people would be watching that show if everything was 100%?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's still been a pretty good documentary. Still got a lot of views and everything. But, yeah, with this really being the only thing going around in sports right now, it wouldn't have as much success. I mean, if you look at that Tiger King Netflix show,
I still haven't seen that.
They're getting all kinds of hits, and I don't think that would have been a situation if it wasn't for a pandemic. I
just hope this doesn't ruin friendships because maybe this doesn't get the play it would have got, if everything was 100% with football and basketball and everything. But I just hope Horace Grant and Jordan and Pippen, this doesn't cause a rift where they don't talk anymore. I mean, these guys won 5 national titles. I mean, 5. I mean, I just would hate that this just shows you that not everybody that played on a team is close.
Yeah. And it really, the documentary itself, and that's a good point you brought, because it really showed the relationship Michael had with his teammates. And just the way in practice, I thought it was pretty interesting insight that Michael Jordan was not the most liked person in practice because he wanted to get the best out of each and every teammate and sometimes rubbed heads the wrong way. So it was an interesting inside look on his mindset. And, there's only a few greats out there that had that killer instinct, that killer mindset that Michael Jordan had. That's what made him great. So it was really good to get that inside look, what drove him to be great.
And I've got to side with Michael because maybe they don't win 5 championships if he's not that tough. And, nobody likes the coach. and he was like a coach. So sounds like he was more of a coach than a teammate. I read one part. I didn't watch it, but I read this, that Horace Grant got on a plane and he told the airline stewardess not to give him his hamburger for dinner because he didn't have a good game.
That's how they operate. So, I mean, it was cool. It was a pretty cool insight. It was kind of confusing with the documentary because it went back and forth with the timeline. So they go to the very end of Jordan's time with the Bulls, then they go to the beginning of the time with the Bulls and back to the end. So it was a little confusing there, but overall it was a really good documentary.
But you know what, Jace? You never saw Pippen and Jordan interviewed together since they've retired. No, they were separate in the documentary with interviewing and stuff. So how that went. But he didn't like how he was portrayed in the documentary, according to Pippen. Well, look, you've seen this because they did a 30-on-30 for Mississippi State. Remember with Will Clark and Rafael Palmeiro?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
These two guys were two of the greatest players to ever be on a baseball team that didn't win a championship. They don't talk today, I don't think. They had the reunion at the end of the show, but this goes to show you again, I mean, does it mean you're close friends because you're a teammate?
Yeah, another example of that. I mean, I know you like talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, your team.
Yeah.
But Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw, they didn't have a good relationship with each other.
Nope.
They had a good professional relationship, and that allowed them to win 4 Super Bowls.
And I'm going to tell you another one. A little before your time, but I know you study history because your dad's a high school coach, Ron LeJeune at East Iberville. I want to give him a plug. The Denver Broncos, John Elway and Dan Reeves didn't get along.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
And that was 4 Super Bowls, I think, between the two, or 3 or 4. And
I think they won 2 straight, but they've been to a bunch of Super Bowls.
But you work with this guy every day for 15 years. Terry Bradshaw and Chuck Noll, and you work with Dan Reeves and John Elway for 10, 12 years, and you don't talk anymore. I think that's sad, though. I really do.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're not one without the other, and that's kind of that's going to be interesting. It's going to be pretty cool to see how it's going to work out with Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay, and then Bill Belichick without Brady in New England, because everybody's saying you're not one without the other. Well, we're about to see, hopefully this season, how that will work out.
I wonder if they won't talk again if he beats Belichick in a meaningful game.
He probably won't, because he's kind of had that relationship with some of his coaches as well, like Eric Mangini over the years, that once they left him, it's been kind of a little bit of a nice relationship.
And I think Drew Brees, it seems, right? We don't know for certain, but it seems him and Peyton have a good relationship, but you never know. I mean, it might be business. It might be respect, but we would hope that Peyton – it seems like Peyton and Brees are pretty close considering all the stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, right. I think they have a really good personal and professional relationship with each other. So that's why it's been able to really work out and really, overturn a franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you look at the late Don Shula that passed away this month. He was tight. He was close with Dan Marino. Dan Marino thought of him as a father. So there's always the opposite of that there are close friendships forever. And I know a lot of ex-college football players that were great college football players that they're still not friends with their teammates, and they've won championships. It's just life. It's humanality that not everybody on your team is your best friend 25, 30 years later.
You're exactly right. And there is a difference between, being a best buddy with somebody or having respect for somebody and knowing what you're going to get from the other person. So even though they might not like each other personally, they still have that professional relationship to back on and trust.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Joe Burrow fits in Cincinnati because he doesn't like to lose.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, just relationship there. Knowing, because Joe's one of those guys, like, talking about that killer mindset, that killer mentality. And I believe Joe does that because he prepares just as much or even more as anybody else in football right now.
Yeah, I always wanted to see, there's another one that I want to compare, MLB. Remember when Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco were hitting those home runs?
Yep. Right.
Were they close when they were in Oakland A's? They were Oakland A's teammates. You don't hear much about them two guys talking very much still. I mean, we just keep thinking of different teammates, right. And then obviously Mark McGwire, had the single season record for home runs with the Cardinals, later on. And Canseco is always in the news, it seems. Very colorful guy that looked like he could bench 500 pounds in his prime there. Him and McGwire. Yeah. Jace, any final thoughts about the magazine or anything else before you go?
Sure. So we are working on the magazine, and it's going to be an interesting little add-on to what we're doing right now, is that the magazine this year is going to be online. So we just have a new website. We renovated the website. I think it's a pretty cool look. You got a chance to look at it, Lee?
Yeah, better, huh? But don't.
Yeah, much better.
But we don't want to say that it's you can't order digital yet. It won't be ready for digital order till.
But it will be ready. It will be ready for when it does come out.
Right.
But for now, we're having the podcast on the website, so it's much more easier to access. There's also recruit articles as well that we're doing each and every day during the week. But if you want to pre-order the magazine, please order at www.lafootballmagazine.com. And as far as the podcast, we've been really happy with the support that we're getting so far, but we continue to get more and more as we go on with the podcast, so we can grow it to where we want it to be. So we can ask you, whatever you listen to your podcast, whatever hosting site, whether it's Pandora, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, whatever you listen to your podcast, please subscribe, because that'll allow you to get up to date with which episodes are coming in each and every week, and either Monday or Friday. And please download the shows as well. That way it's free. It's on your computer. It's much more easy to get to instead of going online. So make sure to go to LAFootballMagazine.com for that podcast.
And Jace, just so people don't get confused, you can order the hard copy right now, but the digital copy will be ready when we have the magazine ready almost September.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. If you want to because like we've usually been doing, if you want to just pre-order the hard copy of the magazine, that's still normal. That's still as is right now. But we'll have a digital copy before it's all said and done.
And that's for the South and North magazines. So if you're listening in Shreveport, there's a North, or in Monroe, Alexandria, and then there's a South. So there's two magazines to order. For the 2020 24th year, I was actually about Jace's age when I started this. 25, a little older than Jace, not much, but 25 years old when I started the magazine, just out of my apartment. I actually worked for a gentleman for 3 years. From Winfield, Louisiana, and took it from a hardback copy, from a paperback copy to a perfect bind copy. And we're family owned, and just continuing to work hard. And Jace, look, man, appreciate you calling. I know we got Kevin Franklin coming up, and I know good luck with those high school coaches today.
Yes, sir. Tell Kevin I said hi.
I will. Take care, Jace. That was Jace LeJeune, who's our editor, Louisiana Football Magazine. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have Kevin Franklin, former LSU running back, when we come back.
Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, LAFootballMagazine.com, and get connected today.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen. You just heard Jace LeJeune, our editor. He's a Catholic high grad, and this must be the Bear Day, man. This is all Bears on the show today, and we've got a legend, and I'm going to say legend, You know, he was a parade All-American running back at Catholic High, played in the NFL with Oakland Raiders, went to LSU, also went to Southern, and was a great track star. And I want to introduce Kevin Franklin. Kevin, thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. But that was very gracious interview from an old guy like myself, man. It was a gracious interview, bro.
You're not that old. You're only as old as you.
I'm not that old, but a lot of the guys, I'm going to tell you about myself. A lot of the guys don't, they don't remember. It was a long time ago. Their parents, their parents remember me. And so I've moved on to another generation. So their parents and their grandparents and all that stuff, they know me. So they tell the story. So I'm a legend. I mean, I've moved to.
Hey, Kevin.
My dad told me stories about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My dad told me stories about you. Yeah.
Kevin,
right.
what's funny though, we're in a generation where they forget about you every 8 years. Every 8 years.
I mean, with the internet age. Yeah, with the internet age, man. I mean, they got new guys coming up, and we just had the Last Dance coming up. I mean, guys, that's just like it was only 20 years, but they like it was 50 years ago. I'm like, guys, that ain't that.
Kevin,
technology moves quick.
Your old high school, Catholic High, Baton Rouge, and Dale Weiner, you were there in the beginning. You were there when there wasn't a lot of winning seasons behind you when you were younger. Coming up, that Catholic was always a great school, but they weren't on top of the world like they are today. And when you and Warwick Dunn were coming up together at Catholic High, I mean, y'all made. I'm going to just say this. Y'all set the precedent for the future and got the team to the Superdome, to the first state championship game, and lost to an NFL team, Ruston. But y'all set it up for everybody coming after you.
Right. It was a collective effort. We were a part of a collective. Catholic High opened, and I'll tell you a little history about it. Catholic High opened their enrollment a little bit. And they opened it to people like Jason Coffey, Scott Ray, Leo Abel, all these guys.
Jesse Daigle.
Jesse Daigle, all these guys that normally wouldn't go to Catholic, they opened the doors a little bit. Todd White, I don't know if you remember that name.
Oh, Lyman, yeah.
Yeah, man. So they opened the doors a little bit. So we ushered in a new era of Catholic High, saying, you know what, I think these guys from these other communities and these other walks of life deserve the Catholic High experience. So that's what we ushered in as well. But yeah, if you're talking about some inner city kids, so it was twofold. It was also citywide, opening up the doors, but also inner city kids like myself and Warwick and like us to go. So it was twofold. So yeah, you're true on both sides. It was both sides of it. But being in it, I knew it wasn't just Kevin Franklin Warwick Dunn. It was just all of us. It was all of us, the guys that came together through, and Sid Edwards. And I commend him to this day. He was a ninth grade coach, and he was big on, letting other guys have another experience and some fathers. Jason Coffey's dad was instrumental in us getting there as well.
Kevin, you've sat back and you've done the play-by-play for Catholic High for the Catholic Network recently. Done a good job with that, by the way, man. And then
yes, sir. Thank you.
All these backs that have come out since you and Warwick, who would you say was the funnest one to watch out of, Geis, Travis Minor, Clyde Edwards, all these other ones that came out since Carl Bernard and you and Warwick? Who's been like the most fascinating running back out of the group after you that you really love to watch just play?
I think he's very elusive, but everybody doesn't talk about him a lot. Is what Travis did. For him to do what he did at Catholic High, and I loved watching him play. I mean, he played everything. He played kickoff return. He played football. He played every down. Like he ran track. Like he just was the guy to me. To me, Kevin. And I have my top five. And it's Carl Bernard, Neil Delicano, Kevin Franklin, Darius Geis, and my top is Travis. Travis is the top back that ever go to Catholic High. He's the top. He's the cream of the crop. Like from Kevin Franklin. Now that's from Kevin Franklin, and I'm the third on the second to him on the all-time list.
Right.
But he broke all my he broke all the records. He broke all my records, but I have to give it to him. Because I started it, but he was that guy that after me that kind of he took it to the next level. So he was my the internet. He was the guy that took it to the next level for the running back. And I think him going having all the accolades that he did. I mean, the guy was Gatorade Player of the Year. Like he had it all. Like he had everything that you can ask for in a back. And Neil Delicano, Carl Bernard, and all those guys like that come after, and me, and Darius Geis and Clyde. We all come after that.
And Kevin,
we have some good ones too.
And I want to mention this. One guy cost Dale Weiner state championship in minor and Major Applewhite. One guy. Tommy Banks, West Monroe.
Tommy Banks.
Those 48 carries, remember, in the playoffs, that one game?
48 carries, grown man. I mean, they couldn't stop. I mean, and literally, and that's what I've learned about some of these teams, especially like John Curtis and West Monroe, all these teams like that. They give it to their hearts. Like, they say, you know what? If my guy's better than your guy, I'm going to give him the ball 50 how many times I need to win. And Catholic, we just play as a team, and it's hard to beat a team when they got a horse on the team.
And burn that clock. Burn that clock.
Burn the clock, man. It's old school mentality, and sometimes old school work. You know, at Rumble, they just beat like the other year. I mean, with Catholic, they just beat us with their best players.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Kaufman,
you know what happened.
Yeah,
Kaufman was the truth, man. Florida State and and all that stuff. Looking after, they're trying to get him. And I think they got him. I think somebody got him.
You know what? He's going to Vanderbilt. He'll be an All-American, Kevin, at Vanderbilt.
Another great decision. And playing for the coach. I mean, he made another great academic playing decision, because you go to those other schools, you're competing, and he made another great decision. You know what I mean? Those guys are full of making great decisions on their careers, and I think going to Vanderbilt is one of them. They're building something in Vanderbilt, man. They are. You
know what it reminds me of? Remember Jimmy Williams coming out of Episcopal, signing with Vandy?
Yes.
Jimmy made a great decision at Vandy. He could have went to Missouri or Auburn or all these, but look at that degree, man, at Vandy. And,
look at that Vandy degree, and he's coaching. He's back coach, and he made it in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? So it goes all the full circle. It goes full circle. So it's just like, hey guys, sometimes going to a smaller school, it matters. And you big and recruited, man, and you do a phenomenal job. So I guess it's my time to say to you, man, you do a phenomenal job with these kids.
Thank you,
man. Helping them out, looking at and covering them in your magazine, man. I want to tell you thank you, because I was in it, and it's still going on since I was gone back in the day. And I just want to say, man, thank you, brother, because that means a lot to my community, for the African American community, for us to have someone out there that's chiming in for us, man. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Kevin, man. You gave a tear to me, man. Tear to my eyes, man. Good. I appreciate that. I got to mention this. You were doing play-by-play last year when Catholic went to St. Thomas More during the regular season last year, and I went.
Yes.
And I called you, and I said, man, let's meet up for lunch. And I've got to say this about Kevin, because I'm not going to forget Kevin on this. Kevin and me are sitting down eating lunch in Lafayette before the game. Catholic High is playing St. Thomas More at St. Thomas More.
Yes.
And Kevin looks at me and says, man, do you know what a podcast is? And I said, no. And he pulled out this bag, and I want my listeners, this is a funny, true story. Kevin had this bag, and he had all this equipment in it. And he started pulling this equipment out. And I'm like, man, what is that? He's like, well, this goes into this, and this goes into that. And I said, Kevin, I don't know all this stuff, man. He said, well, you better get a podcast, Lee. You better get with the times. And so,
Lee, you the man. Yeah.
So I did some research on the internet, and I made a call to Australia and in New York, and I bought all this equipment. And if it wasn't for me sitting down with Kevin Franklin eating a hamburger, I wouldn't even have a podcast. I'm like, man.
Yeah. But that shows too that you give love where you get love, and I tell all my young guys this too. I wanted to give something back to you, and we were eating together, and you always give something to somebody else that you love, and you give gifts. And that was mine to you. I was like, hey man, you already got the platform. See, I'm building, but you got a platform and podcasting it, and I'm thinking, here it is. You've gone and blew it out the water, man. You've grown your listeners, you've grown a new generation. I mean, I just watched it, Coach, and hey, I just wanted to I say, man, if I could do anything to help him and give him an advice, and because what he did for me, I was giving back.
Yeah.
And
look,
man,
and Kevin, I'm impressed, man. When you were pulling out all that equipment, you knew everything like an engineer, man. You knew everything. Like you were pulling out, you were pulling out stuff. I had no idea what it was. Like, I'm like, Kevin, how do you know all this stuff?
Yeah, it's just research really, and then here it is with Gumbo Sports. I have to be mobile, and then watching Catholic High and watching the broadcast at Catholic High. So I put all that together, and that's what good running backs do. That's what good players do. We're always students of the game, you know.
Yeah.
And I tell you that, Lee, you always have to keep learning, and that's what I did. I learned from Catholic High. I learned from Gumbo Sports, their crew. I learned from all of them, and they was like, listen, if you're going to do this, you got to be able to push it forward as far as podcasting and being online and having all that stuff. And I was like, look, I'm going to tell Lee. So get it. I'm going to keep, if I learn it and it was given to me free, I'm going to give it to Lee free.
Yeah.
So that's how we keep going. That's how the community, especially the African-American training community and the football community are. We give all that information back to those guys freely. We do. We train them. We go to the parks with them. Like, we give a lot of that information free to those guys. So I'm just telling you how we function.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to ask you two questions, and one might make you laugh, but one's going to be about who was the best football track athlete ever at Catholic, and how was Oakland, living in Oakland? Who was the best track football player ever at Catholic?
Track football player, it had to be
Kevin, right?
I would say Aaron Bruin. No, not me. I wasn't one. No.
Come on.
It's up there. It's up there. Yeah. Aaron Boone was absolutely the best athlete you have ever seen in your life. And I know you remember that name.
I do.
His name was Aaron Boone. He went to Clemson. He was absolutely, so that's why I guess you have me on your podcast so you can find out these things.
There you go.
But Aaron Boone was the most phenomenal track, both athletes. Calvin Williams. I know you remember Calvin.
I remember Calvin, yeah.
Calvin Williams went to, and those were the two tops. And I'm about third, fourth. I'm in the top five. I know for sure. So I'm right behind those two guys. These two guys, bro, they were phenomenal. They ran everything. They ran hurdles. They ran the 400, 200, 100. Like, they did everything. So as far as titles, and because I ran longer, I ran from my freshman year all the way up to my varsity year. But if you're talking about all the accolades I got from that running that long. But these guys were phenomenal, man. Especially Aaron. Aaron could do a lot of great things, but just the mental aspect of the game, you know, sometimes I think going off to school and all that other stuff like that, sometimes that stuff is hard, man. You know, because as you know, Terran Matthew, Honey Badger, he had to overcome a lot of that.
That's
stuff
right.
Making bad
and I filmed Tyrann Matthew. I was the one that sent the film to LSU.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. See that? They don't know that about Lee. Like,
no, they don't know that.
You're instrumental. You're instrumental in helping these guys and getting to the next level, and those guys being there. And Tyrann will say too, hey man, his decision making wasn't all what it should be, but it is now. But they don't know that you helped him, and I think that's why these podcasts are important. Yours is very important, and having older guests like me, because we can tell the stories, and it's all about storytelling. Lee, it's all about storytelling.
Hey, this is Pete Boudreaux, one of the greatest track coaches ever. Your coach at Catholic High.
Ever.
Tell the youngsters listening, the youngsters and people that don't know this, two things I want you to tell them, because you were really, really fast. What was your best 100-meter run time-wise, and what was your best 40-yard run? I know they were really, really good.
Yeah. At the time, if you run, so I'll tell the young guys too, if you run about 4.5, 4.6 on grass, guys, you're pretty fast.
Right.
That means on turf or anything like that. So I ran about 4.5 on grass. That's when everybody was like, I think this dude is pretty fast.
Right. In tennis shoes, tennis shoes on grass.
Yeah, in tennis shoes, I was just stretching, boom, boom, boom. So I ran about, so that means it equates to about 4.3, because, take off a couple of seconds here and there. And my fastest 100 ended up being, I think we ended up running 10.3, 10.4. If you run about 10.2, 10.3 in high school, you're probably going to win a state championship.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's what the times equate to. You got a couple of anomalies, like some guys, they ran the 9s and all that, but that's an anomaly.
Right.
But if you run around a 10 flat or 10.2, 10.1, you're probably going to win a state championship. So that's something for you guys to go off to kind of run to. So I can gauge a guy by when I see these times now. I can say, okay, he's probably going to want to be the best in the nation. And he got guys looking at him by the times. The times that they run, I can tell. And I learned that from Coach Boudreaux as well.
What a great coach, huh, Kevin, Pete?
One of the greatest coaches I've ever been around. I've been around Coach Weiner. I've been around John Gruden. In Oakland when I played in Oakland, I've been around him. I've been around some great coaches, man. And he, that's a scale. You know what I'm saying? I went from that scale to the other scale. Pete Richardson. Pete Richardson was another great one, but you're talking about as far as making athletes who they are, as far as how they are as a person, and at bringing the best out of them on the track.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other better person like that. There's no other better person like that, and he'll give it up for the team. He'll say, "Hey, Kevin, we want you to run, but here it is." He'll do twofold. He'll say it'll help Kevin Franklin with his strength, but also it'll help the team.
Yeah.
Kevin being on the 4x400, see how Coach Bujo do? It'll help the team morale, and it'll help him being a great teammate, and it will help our team. You get it? And it will help Kevin Franklin. So
right.
Ain't that many coaches that'll do something so good for you that it's also good for the team, and also that's something inside of you. That's something that you're made with. I want to make everybody good. Everybody, Kevin doing this is going to make everybody better. And Coach Bujo does that better than anybody I've ever seen in my life.
And Kevin, I want to mention this too, and I've got another one before you go, but tell the listeners, what was it like living in Oakland? We always talk about what it was like being on an NFL team, but what was it like in your short time? Yeah. What was Oakland like? Because nobody talks about Oakland.
No, nobody talks about Oakland, Alameda, because that's where the facilities are in Alameda, California. So it's right on the outskirts. It's kind of like the Zachary. You know what I'm saying?
Right, Baton Rouge, Zachary, Denham, that kind of thing. Yeah,
it's like Zachary, Denham is like that because it's like very. Alameda is very up and coming, but I stayed in the Haywood Hills, so I stayed down there by the university. I stayed in the upper in the hills where I looked over Oakland. So I stayed in a great area. I would always go to it was International at the time. And I would always stay in the community where I felt comfortable. So I would always go to the flea markets and stuff like that. You're talking about a multicultural community. You're talking about from Cal down the way, from the college students, Cal Berkeley. You're talking about, you know what I'm saying?
Everything different.
It's everything. It's totally different, and I love my time out there. And so here it is, Lee. I still have friendships now with some of the people that I was out there with. It was a phenomenal time I was out there because the city loved you because they didn't have much, and that's why I think Marshawn Lynch. I'm gonna tell you guys this. Listen now, guys, if you're listening to this, that's why Marshawn Lynch goes back because those guys, that community means so much to him, and him going back means so much to them. So it's mutual. So they need him because they don't have much. You know what I mean? They don't have a lot of stuff going on in those communities. So us staying in that community, I stayed in the community. I always went back. I always went to the community centers and stuff like that and helped out in the community because the community is not a very good community as far as African American and Hispanic, and they don't get a lot of love. So Marshawn Lynch is so vital for that community, what he does, and him going to Oakland and playing in Oakland. But they've moved since then. But it's going to hurt that community, man. It really is. I'm just telling you, them leaving, Oakland is going to hurt them. And I hope they rebound and maybe get a arena team, something like that. They have arena teams close in San Jose, but I hope they rebound some kind of way. They still got the Golden State Warriors, but it's not the same as having the NFL team. It's really not.
Kevin, you know what I'm concerned about when they move to Vegas? These guys are human. These guys on the football team. I'm concerned they're going to. I'm concerned. I'm concerned. The one we can talk about. I'm concerned that they're going to become regulars in the casino, man. They might have to go to like classes for that, man. I mean, that's tempting to go, Vegas.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I'm telling you what the formula is too. They're going to leave. They're going to be out. They're going to play right there in Vegas. They are. But they're going to move their facility. Is going to be out on outskirts of Vegas. They just are. They're not going to be able to come into the community and come into those casinos. Like they're going to live about at least 30 minutes to an hour away. They just are.
Right.
Because they just can't let those players, and that's what we did. I stayed outside of, Oakland, and a lot of other players did. Some people stayed in Alameda, but a lot of those players stayed in downtown Oakland. They got apartments up there. They trying to do the gentrification, and they're doing a lot of that stuff. But a lot of these players in Oakland that's going out there, they're going to have to live on the outskirts, man. It's too much temptation. And the NFL can't afford that.
Right.
Just like I do. The NFL is the shield, man. And they're going to protect the shield at any cost. And they're going to have NFL people that say, have a sheet and say, hey, if you see this guy in the casino, get him out of there.
Right. So, if he's wearing a Raiders jacket and he looks like the starting wide receiver, get him out of there. Get him
him out there, and that's what the NFL does, and that's when they do have an NFL security. So I guess I'm telling you a little bit too much, but anyway. But yeah,
it's all right.
NFL does have their own security. Yeah, NFL does have their own security. So they do watch out for guys. They do police them. They do all that for you. I mean, from security to events, from watching guys at clubs. Like they at clubs, they'll say, hey man, don't let such and such in this club. And you know what I'm saying? At this point, if he gets this. inebriated, call us. You know what I'm saying? So they have agreements with club owners about players, and it's deep, man. The NFL is a fraternity, man, and I love the fact that I was a part of it. Childhood dream, getting there, but it's also 1%ers, man, 1 or 2%ers that get there.
And look, I want to mention this before you go. I want to endorse you, kind of like your campaign director, for one thing. I endorse Kevin Franklin, one voice here, and hopefully it goes to many, it will, thousands of households statewide. Kevin Franklin needs to be in the Catholic High School Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the school.
The school, right? Catholic High Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm in the I'm in the Grizzly Greats. That means the athletic part.
Yeah.
I'm in the athletic part of Catholic High, and which I revel, and you know, and just for my family and my daughters and everybody to see that's a great accomplishment. But for something like the school, I would love to be around. And they, you know, as we get older, we get grayer.
Yeah, I know.
Start coming on because I think they got me nominated, probably nominated after this over with, for a youth football in Baton Rouge, the Southern Region Youth Football Organization Hall of Fame. So the Southern Region, they'll probably be in that. But you know, it's nothing like that Catholic High. It's nothing like being in Catholic High's Hall of Fame, where it's a school. The school recognizes you as being someone that changed, cultural change, academically, socially. You know, all that stuff like that, emotionally. I just help the guys all collectively, holistically.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, I hope I'm around, you know, to be able to hoist that trophy and say, hey man, thank God for this, because that's what it was. It was God that put us all together.
Before we go, Kevin, I want to mention this and give us your thoughts on the upcoming season. And I know, look, the Rummel people will be listening. Okay. Archbishop Rummel, John Curtis, John Curtis will be listening. Jesuit. Yeah. Brother Martin, you know, all these Catholics, all these private schools that Catholic High faces. Yeah. Who do you think will win the Scotlandville? Who you think's going to win St. Aug? Who you think's going to win the 5A class state championship in 220 for the private side? If you could predict,
I believe. If I could predict, I believe it's going to be. And they're still separated, right? They're still separated, right?
Yep.
They're still separated. I believe Scotlandville is going to make a run. They're going to make a run in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs. I really do. I really think Scotlandville is going to make a run, and I'm going to put my cart with Catholic, and only because of this, Lee. I'm going to tell you this, because what Rummel has lost,
right?
And we've already crossed the Curtis. We've crossed the Curtis barrier,
right?
We've crossed the Curtis barrier, but now we got the Dark Horses coming up behind us. We have the St. Aug that almost beat Curtis. You remember that last year? Oh yeah,
right? St. Aug super talent. Yeah.
Now you got St. Aug, you got Scotlandville. So now you're gonna have, you know, Catholic against Scotlandville, because somebody's gonna have to play each other on the other side of that bracket. So now, you know, me and you, we always have great conversations like this. Somebody's gonna play each other on the other side of that bracket. It's gonna be an upset. Somebody's gonna upset.
That's right.
It's probably gonna be either St. Aug. It's gonna be St. Aug and Catholic, because we're gonna be on the other side of it. You know what I mean? Because Catholic always rebuilds, and we didn't really lose much, and we played so much good talent last year, Lee. Mm-hmm. We were killing. Like, we were scoring 40 points a game, probably the most in Catholic High history, a school record. And they were actually playing third team, you know, second team, third team. The starters wasn't playing the whole game.
And what impressed me, what impressed me last year was Catholic High goes to St. Thomas More, who won a state championship and beat them with a field goal. And they beat everybody by 30 points. Yes,
and that takes grit. That takes, you know what I mean? And then once we played Carr, either Carr played in the state championship and won.
Right.
So we played two people on our schedule that actually that didn't matter. I was like, y'all losing the Catholic don't matter. It's just we're just in that zone. But they go on to win state championship after they lose the Catholic. Like, that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That just shows Catholic High, but that shows the rest of the field as well. So you losing the Catholic High, man, that does not mean your season is going to be down the drain. That just means you lost the Catholic High. That's all that means. But Catholic High is in another category as far as talent, as far as what they're doing in prep. And shout out to Gabe Petita. Hey, man, they're doing a phenomenal job getting those guys ready mentally and physically and emotionally. Like, to be able to go down to St. Thomas More to play against an All-American, you know, and the best game that I've ever seen a wide receiver play this ever. I'm talking about 46 years. Mm-hmm. That's the best high school game combination between him and my boy. Yeah, Brett Best. Yeah, that was the best combination game.
Who told you about Jack Best before the game?
Hey man, I'm gonna tell y'all this. I didn't know who he was, and I know his people. Mm-hmm. I know I played. But Lee told me. Lee pulled out the. Y'all don't understand how serious this is. Such a great story. Lee pulled out the book, and I said, "Man, who?" He said, "Yeah, man, remember his name?" I said, "Who's you talking about?" His name was Jack Best. I said, "Jack Best." He said, "Yeah, that Jack Best." He said, "Yeah, his brother, his uncle, and that's his people." He said, "Kevin, he is going to light it up." And I said, "All right, you know me, I'm Kevin.
Right,
I'm like, man, he's going to show me. He's going to show me." But here we go. 207 some yards later. 8 catches, he lit it up. Like, he literally lit it up, and here it is. He has about 20-some offers now. And that come from Lee telling me about this kid before anybody told me. Lee told me about this kid before anybody else told me. So guess what? All my reports are coming from Lee's magazine. This is Kevin Franklin.
hey,
that's a shameless plug.
And let me say this message to LSU fans. They need to get on the bandwagon with Jack Best soon, because LSU hasn't offered Jack Best. And he is the best receiver in the state to me. Hands, you saw it. Hands, aggressiveness,
ability,
vertical,
running,
getting away from people,
vertical blocking,
running over people, block everything. He reminds me of a bigger version. You remember Steve Largent with the Seahawks, Kevin? Remember Steve?
Steve Largent.
He reminds me of a bigger version of Steve with better hands. And our older listeners will remember Steve Largent. He was just on a bad team with Jim Zorn, the quarterback. But tell everybody before you go, man, what you doing? I'm sure you're working at a home like me, but tell with the YMCA and tell me all the good things going on over there, man.
Yes, man, we got great things. We're opening up, man, and we're practicing social distancing, of course, but we're going in phases. So right now we have the lap swimmers can come in and they swim. We know not recreation just yet. Mm-hmm. We're all going to have summer camp dance. So baby, sign your babies up. You do have limited space though. We're going to try for about 100. And we're gonna go in groups of 10, so pods. So remember that word now, pods. So that means we're gonna have one counselor with 10 or 12 kids. So we're gonna do that, and we're doing that, and we're making sure we're here to hand cleaning and all that stuff like that to make sure everybody's comfortable. Everybody's wearing masks, but we're gonna phase in. You also can work out, but you cannot use the locker room. So if you want to come on back, I know you guys, a lot of the memberships went ahead and they canceled their membership, but you can come on back to the Y now. We're doing that. Also, I'm doing Gumbo Sports, as you know, at Gumbo Sports at Twitter, at Gumbo Sports at Gumbo Sports Network on Facebook. Hey man, Gumbo Sports is kind of a deal where I cover it. I'm covering it for a couple of guys that live in New York, but they love this community. LSU calls an ecosystem.
Right.
Everybody wants to be a part of this system, so they call me up and they ask me to do some coverage for them. So I'm trying to get the ball rolling down here. So Lee, it's hard going, Lee, but I'm building what they want, and I'm trying to do it in a good manner. You see my shirt, and I'm trying to do it in a good manner to where it's good stories, Lee. It's good storytelling. It's good things I'm covering, like covering you and covering everybody else. I'm trying to tell the good stories of Gumbo Sports. And again, it's gumbo. You got to have a good gumbo. You got to have a good sauce in it. So I'm trying to do that as well. And, I'm just trying to do as much as I can for the community. Lee, I'm going to just be honest with you. We're here before we go. I'm on the other side of this thing. I'm 46. I'm a little getting a little older. So it's what I leave. It's what I leave behind. I'm trying to leave a good legacy behind, a football legacy. And that's what I'm trying to do on this latter part. Just like the last days. I'm trying to do my part to kind of leave these good stories and tell these good stories on the latter part of my life. And I hopefully it gets across to these people on tape and on voice to where my grandkids and their kids can hear it and see it and they can talk about it. So
Kevin, Kevin, man, you're a better person than even your career, man. Yeah. Really good person, and people. You, I want to share that because I know you go on some shows and stuff, but they might not talk about this other stuff. And
They don't talk about me a lot either, man.
You know, but you know, I hope,
talk about me a lot,
you know, we've got this thing set up statewide, and a lot of people from Shreveport and Lake Charles, and heck, man, we even get people in Singapore and Hawaii and all over listening now, and we want them to know Kevin, you know, is not just a former track and football player from Catholic of Baton Rouge, but a great guy in the community. And Kevin, thank you for taking your time to be a part of it, man, and we'll go get some lunch, man. Once this opens up 100%, right? We'll go get some lunch somewhere.
Yes, sir. We will, and he will bring great guests too. He brings great guests.
That's right.
Old LSU guys. He brings guys together. And Lee, man, hey man, you do a great job with that, because I would have never met those guys. And you know, I'm a little guy from the inner city of Baton Rouge. I would have never met some of those guys that came and lunch with us. So I must thank you for that. And that's that right there. It shows who Lee is, and he does a great job because it's the person that you are. You know, you're just a good person, Lee, and I want to tell you thank you, man, and thank you for having me on. And tell my boy, tell him I say hello too, man. Your sister, man, Dave, man.
Yeah,
he's a great guy, man. Tell him I said thank you. Guy too.
And I want to mention that person I brought to lunch. I called. We were in Lafayette before the game, Catholic and St. Thomas More. Said Mike Hillman might join us, former LSU quarterback from the '60s. And Kevin's looking at me like, Kevin's like, is he really coming? I said, yeah, man, he's going to come join us. And I said, Kevin,
I was like, no,
Mike wants to meet you too, you know? So,
he was like, Kevin Franklin wants to, I was like, man, it was just mutual. And that's what you do, Lee. And that you cross boundaries from the inner city guy from Kevin to a guy that's an LSU great. You know what I mean? You bring those two together, and that's what your magazine is about too. And that's what I want to tell people about you and your magazine and your podcast. And that's what they do, guys. So make sure you listen every week, man. He's a great guy, and he's a great guy to know. And guys, you keep listening, man. He's gonna have some great jewels for you guys too every week.
Hey, Kevin, stay safe with your family, man. Keep doing a great job, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, man.
All right, man. Take care. God bless.
God bless you. All right, that was Kevin Franklin. We're going to take a break. Hope you're enjoying the show. We'll be right back. We're going to have our Recruit of the Week, which you're going to love this, from Independence High School, a kid that's 6'6", 240 pounds, a defensive end. We'll be right back.
Hello, Louisiana Football Magazine fans. Like what you're hearing? Well, you're going to love our content on LAFootballMagazine.com. This week, we have 2 recruit spotlights on St. James defensive end Savion Jones, who just committed to the LSU Tigers this past week, and also one of the best athletes in the state in Catholic Point Capiz, Matthew Langlois. Finally, make sure to check out not only today's podcast, but Mondays as well. So what are you waiting for? And go to LAFootballMagazine.com today.
Welcome back, Lee Brecheen, the Sports Scouting Report. I hope you enjoyed the show so far with Kevin Franklin and Jace LeJeune, and this is going to be our Recruit of the Week segment. It's a big-time player. Don't worry about if he's ranked or not. I mean, remember you heard it on our show first, that it's a big-time D1 player that's got a chance to play in the NFL, and his name is Darionte Ginn. Remember the name Darionte Ginn. He is a defensive end for college, but he plays quarterback for his team at Independence. That's right, Independence, which is not far from Amite, which is in Tangipahoa Parish, right outside of Hammond. But if you get a chance, go to Independence this year. You know, it's known for great players. They haven't had great players come out in a long time, but, LeBrandon Tollfield played there, that played at LSU, was a running back. And if it wasn't for some knee injuries, he'd probably still be playing in the NFL right now. Antron Sieber was a high draft pick for the MLB, never enrolled at LSU, was a quarterback, was a dual threat, was a phenomenal player, never went to college football. But those were the last 2 great players to come out of Independence. But remember this name, Darionte Ginn, 6'6", 240 pounds, runs a 4.7 in the 40, could actually run a 4.69, like Kevin Franklin said on grass, can do a 4.79, which is smoking. And he's a quarterback for the team. That's where they need him. But he's a defensive end for the team too, and that's his college position. So this kid's going to be about 6'6", 260, 270 in college, running about a 4.8 40 or better. That's going to be a future great player. I've seen him play. He's very athletic. He's very tough. and he's yet to hit his ceiling, meaning his senior year he's going to blow up. And then you're going to hear this name Darionte Ginn all over the place, and you're going to go, well, I heard it on Lee's show back 4 months ago. But this is a kid that I watched in 2019. I don't care if he's ranked or not. He's not ranked high right now. And it's one of the reasons that the system's not always correct. You know, you got to go watch ball games. And it was one of the games I went to last year to see Independence play. And look, again, keep an eye out on Darionte Ginn. That's our recruit of the week from Independence. That's where Charlie Baglio coached for many years. He's now at LSU. And they've had a lot of great players come through that program. And they have a chance to have one of their best seasons in a long time at Independence. And they have a good new young head coach. A lot of good things. Coach Keith Corona did a great job after Charlie Baglio and just didn't have a lot of talent, or a lot of the numbers were down, and now things are kind of coming back a little bit. And Independence, again, is a team to watch for, too, in high school football, and they have a chance to make some noise. They got probably their most talented team in several years, over, I'd say, almost 15 years. They're not deep on players, but they're more talented than they've been in a long time. But Darionte Ginn is our recruit of the week from Independence, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about, without taking another break, we're going to talk about college notes. LSU got a commitment this week from a big-time defensive safety, free safety, Kerry Gee, who's 6'3", 190. He plays at Woodward High School in Atlanta, and he's fits the mold of the Eric Reeds, where he's an academic guy and he's a great athlete. And I love this verbal commitment, because Kerry Gee, even though he's not ranked in the top 10 in Georgia, Georgia's got 100 Division I players every year. If you get a guy in their top 50, it's like getting a kid in Texas in the top 50. But Kerry Gee's a guy that'll probably end up in the final rankings in the top 10 or maybe the top 5 in Georgia. He's the best safety prospect in Georgia, and he runs 4.5. He's a big-time hitter. He's smart. And you got to be smart to play free safety. You're the quarterback of the defense. And a little bit about Woodward High School in Atlanta, the history. Imagine Newman High School in New Orleans, or Episcopal High School in Baton Rouge, or Lola Prep in Shreveport. Imagine it being 18 times the size it is. But academics first, athletics second, just like those schools in state. U-High is another one that could be in that group. And quadruple the facilities. And get this, it costs $28,000 a year to go to Woodward High School. $28,000 a year is the enrollment. That's more than your time at LSU for 5 years for college. But look at the people that have come out of Woodward High School in Atlanta. Former President Jimmy Carter's daughter, Amy Carter, was a class in 1985. That's an interesting footnote. And Henry Anderson, a D-tackle currently in the NFL, played at Stanford. Delano DeShields, who LSU signed in high school but went pro in high school in the MLB. He's currently a starter in the MLB. Delano Shields went to Woodward. A.J. Cole, starting punter for the Oakland Raiders, who played at North Carolina State. Julian Jenkins, who was a D-tackle for Stanford, was an NFL player. Look, Evander Holyfield's son, Elisha Holyfield, the running back at Georgia, went to Woodward High School. He's currently in the NFL, Elijah is, with the Eagles. And, you know, if you're a big NASCAR Cup Series fan, I'm not a big fan, but Reed Sorensen, who's currently on the NASCAR Cup Series as a driver, he went to Woodward High School in Atlanta. What a great back. And you notice I say Stanford and all these great schools. It's an academic school that produces good football players, baseball players, track, everything. And they have more college classes than some of the major colleges. But what a good get for LSU. Hope he signs his letter of intent in December, the early signing period, which it might be moved back because of the coronavirus. But Kerry Gee is phenomenal. And he's going to be about 215 when he fills out, just the way you want your free safeties. And another commitment yesterday is Savion Jones from St. James, a defensive end. I love this kid. Saw him on film, saw him in person when he was a sophomore. 6'5", legit, 245, 250 in weight. Runs a 4.7, probably 4.69 capable. And he's raw. but he's mean. He's instinctive. He gets upfield. He can be a pass rusher. He has those feet, and he has those arms, and he has that length, and he's going to be about 270 when he's done, and probably running about a 4.8. He'll be a big DN, kind of in the old scheme with LSU. It'd be like that old Rashard Lawrence, but a little lighter, but bigger and taller. But what a big-time commitment. They need to get the Savon Joneses of the world in Louisiana. LSU's keeping one of the best defensive ends in the state. I think he's the best going into his senior season. Savion Jones has a chance to be great. He really does. And he has a chance to be one of the greatest players to ever come out of St. James, which produced Corey Webster to LSU, played for the Giants. And also Chad Jasmine was a running back that signed with Clemson. And several players. Lowell Narcisse was a big-time signee with LSU at quarterback. He's now at UT San Antonio. I can go on and on and on with St. James. And Robert Valdez and the great job he does at St. James. So go check Savion Jones out. Big-time defensive end. Hope everybody enjoyed the show today. Our next show will be on Monday. And just hope you're having a great day, and we'll be talking to you soon. I'll pray for all our families, and I'll pray everything's going to get back to normal. Thank you to all our medical staff in the world. Thank you for what you're doing to help save lives around the country. We'll see you on Monday.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.